So Dr. Kim and I are just going to give a brief recap from yesterday and get started with our presenters for today. So Dr. Kim?
All right, greetings to all of you. Welcome to day 2 of our international conference on Agape Love and Forgiveness. I would like to share some of my reflections with you this morning. This is what I was thinking a lot about yesterday. Maybe some of you too, I'm not sure. But as a self-conscious person, I was thinking a lot about whether or not I was correctly pronouncing or mispronouncing some of the presenters' names. Given the theme of this conference and the purpose of our talk right now is to kind of share our reflections and highlights from yesterday. Somehow I had to make a connection between me mispronouncing and the theme of this conference, which is Agape Love and Forgiveness, right? I came to this conclusion. Maybe by mispronouncing some of your names and offending you, I was giving you a concrete opportunity to apply what you have learned yesterday. I was giving you opportunities so that you could grow in the virtue of forgiveness and love toward me by developing understanding, empathy, kindness, compassion, and even love.
I'm going to go with that too.
نعم شكرا حاولنا ما
thank you. We tried.
Yep. And I was thinking, as your MC today, I'll be happy to continue to give you that opportunity. I might continue to mispronounce your name so that you can more concretely apply what you have learned yesterday. On a more serious note, I was actually reflecting on what it means that at the highest level, forgiveness is an expression of agape love. Let's think about that for a moment. At the highest level, forgiveness is an expression of agape love. Agape love is the highest form of forgiveness, and forgiveness flows from that agape love. What does that mean? That's something that I was thinking about. And
it's very profound. I feel like we could have a philosophy class on that question alone.
Exactly. So recently, I was reading a book on happiness, how to be happy, how not to be happy, by a philosopher, as you predicted, by a philosopher who knows something about Dr. Enright's buddy, the old buddy, 500-year-old buddy, Aristotle, and also someone who's slightly younger by maybe 1,500 years, Thomas Aquinas, Saint Thomas. And the philosopher's name is Dr. I might have to seek forgiveness from him, but Dr. I'll try again. Buzyshevsky. I might be wrong, but I often mispronounce names. So his name is Dr. Buzyshevsky. All right. Yeah.
Dr. B.
Yeah, Dr.
Let's go
B.
with Dr. B.
He's a professor of philosophy at the University of Texas, Austin, and he wrote a book on happiness. And he wrote in his book that to be happy in the unqualified sense is the same as to be fulfilled, to flourish, or to thrive, to enjoy complete well-being, to have our complete and final good. I'm going to repeat, okay? To be happy in the unqualified sense is the same as to be fulfilled, to flourish, or to thrive, to enjoy complete well-being. Think about complete well-being. What is complete happiness? what is
وقد
supreme
أوضح في
happiness.
الكتاب بأن
And he made it very clear
السعادة
that
أقصى درجات من
happiness, the supreme kind of happiness that is not fleeting, he
ليست
mentioned that
السعادة
it's not pursuing momentary
المتعة
satisfaction. It's not
اللحظية.
really seeking pleasure
عندما
for the
تسعى
moment.
للسعادة
According to him,
أنت
when you
تسعى
pursue
لشيء
happiness,
طيب
you're seeking something
وذلك
good for its
لذاته
own
وليس لتحقيق شيء
sake,
آخر.
not as a means to something else.
كذلك مفهوم
So it essentially is the
لا
concept
أعرف
of,
اللاتينية
well, I don't really
summum
know
bonum.
Latin, but summum bonum, which
يعني
means greatest good. The kind of
السامي
good that you pursue
أنت تفعل
for its
الخير
own sake, because it
لأنه
is
خير
good
بذاته.
in and
وذكر
of
أيضاً أن السعادة
itself. He also mentioned that
تلبية
happiness is like the fulfillment
الرغبة
of the ultimate
الأسمى.
desire. Fulfillment of the ultimate desire. He explained that
وليس
it is
أن
not
تقضي
about
طيباً
having a
وقتاً
good
طيباً أو لحظة طيبة،
moment.
لكن يكون
It's not about having a good time,
حياتك طيبة.
but having a good life.
أنا
I know many of you are
أعرف أن
having a
جميعاً
good time.
يمضي وقتاً
I'm
طيباً.
having a
هذا
good
أول
time
مرة أزور
too.
فيها وادي
This is
ماديسون
actually my
ويسكونسن
first
منذ
time
6
visiting
سنوات.
Madison, Wisconsin in
تخرجت
6
منها.
years. First time visiting after I graduated. And
وقد
you know, I'm
مضيت
having a
وقتاً
pretty good
طيباً
time.
وقابلت
I
أصدقاء
met some of my
قدامى.
old friends.
وأود منكم أن
But
تستمتعوا وقتكم
I
لكن
mean, I
لا
want you to have a good
لا
time
لا
here.
تخطئوا
Okay, don't get me wrong.
بأفكاري، لكن
But
لا
I guess
تكون
that that
هذه
might not be the
الهدف الأسمى
ultimate
لوجودنا هنا.
goal of being here.
هذا
As a
المؤتمر
result of
برأيي
this conference, I think, in my
إذا
opinion,
صممت أن
if
يكون
you're
لك حياة
determined to
طيبة
have a
وليس
good
وقتاً
life,
طيباً.
not just good moment, if you're determined to have a
أعتقد
good
بأننا
life, not just good moment, I think we
بالتالي
are
نسعى
moving
نحو
toward the ultimate good,
الخير
summum
الأسمى.
bonum, the greatest good. And as you strive to lead a truly and lastingly flourishing
والسعي
life by
نحو
pursuing
ذلك سوف
summum bonum,
يسعدك
I
في
think
حياتك
you'll
بشكل
enjoy complete well-being.
وستكون بخير.
That's
الخير
something that I was
الأسمى.
thinking about
هذا ما فكرت
as I was
به.
thinking about
أن المسامحة هي
forgiveness
تعبير عن
is
المحبة.
the expression of agape love. So think about
فإن
this,
فضيلة
how
المسامحة
good it is to practice the virtue of forgiveness for its own sake.
الخير في
How good it is to
ممارستها من
practice
أجل
it for
ذاتها.
its own sake.
وأن
And how good it
تعيش
is to
حياة
enjoy a fulfilling and
طيبة
flourishing
بتغيير قصة
life
حياتك
by
بحيث
changing
تصبح
your
قصة
life
محبة
story
وقصة
as a
مسامحة.
story of love and a
أتمنى
story
أنه
of
من
forgiveness.
خلال
I hope
اليوم
that through
الثاني
our day 2, all of us are further
ستتعرض
challenged,
لبعض
maybe sometimes
التحديات،
by me
مثلاً
mispronouncing
كأن
your
أخطئ
name,
في لفظ
but all of us are
أسمائكم،
further challenged to
أن
grow
تسعوا
in the virtue of forgiveness
لتحقيق
and further motivated to strive toward its highest form, which is
نموذج من
agape
المسامحة
love.
وهو
That's what I wanted to
المحبة
share with you.
الإيجابية.
Is there something?
Yeah, so
سنبدأ
yesterday,
اليوم
kind of the structure of the day, we
بدكتور
started with
إنرايت ومن ثم
just an overview from Dr.
كنت أتحدث عن يوم
Enright,
الأمس.
and then got
كان
into
هناك
the
محاضرة
research
من
from the
دكتور
3
إنرايت
countries that are
وثم
here
ثلاث
visiting
محاضرين.
from across the world. And I just took away from that the hope that that creates, that so many of you in so many different places, different cultures, different religions are engaging in this practice. And I heard the word hope shared a lot yesterday. The other thing that really stood out to me was the breakout sessions and hearing everybody fervently talking about how to integrate this, what the day has meant for them, and hearing the joy being shared really spoke to me yesterday as well. And I think I also heard Mr. Little's talk, his story about his grandfather. I heard a lot of people referring to that yesterday, and I'm sure you've received numerous comments about how touched everybody was by that. And I have been reflecting on the forgiveness in my own life, or the people in my life that are holding on to resentment. And I really appreciated Dr. Enright's like walkthrough of thinking about somebody in our lives that we need to forgive, or thinking about somebody in our lives that we know is holding on to resentment. And my grandmother is holding on to a lot of resentment. And she's so depressed, she's sad. And so I can see what that does to her, and my siblings can see what that does to her. And we are choosing not to hold on to those resentments in the same way that she did. So hopefully breaking that cycle that gets passed on from generation to generation of hatred and not forgiving and not loving. The other thing that really stood out to me yesterday, and I discussed this with a few people, a friend of mine was able to come yesterday for the conference. He's unable to come today. But he sent me, he didn't really know what he was getting into. He mostly was coming because I invited him. He didn't really understand the topic or anything. I said, it's on love and forgiveness. Just come, it's going to be great. And so he's here, listening to the first few talks, and he texted me while I was back there, and he said, does this have to do with the Bible or God or anything? And I said, no, actually, it doesn't matter if you practice a religion or not. Love and forgiveness are moral virtues, whether or not you practice any type of faith. And he really thought that was interesting, and it made me think about how many times I hear people say they can't engage in forgiveness because that's a religious thing. Or I don't really believe in God, so forgiveness is like a taboo word. And I want to make that more accessible to people who don't practice any faith, to make them feel like I can still engage in this practice. So his question just really made me think about how people who don't practice any religion perceive people who do practice religion, or perceive the terms agape love and forgiveness. So it's something I'm holding on to and reflecting. I also had an opportunity to practice forgiveness in the last 24 hours. So Dr. Kim and I, last night, agreed that we weren't going to write anything to say this morning. We weren't given a script this morning. So we parted ways saying like, yeah, we'll just chit chat and talk and not write anything out. And then I get here this morning and he's like, oh, I wrote something out. And I said, what? I didn't write anything out. You said you weren't going to. And he said, well, it's an opportunity for forgiveness.
Am I forgiven?
You are forgiven.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.